today Jackie Fast with us. She, as you can see by the surname, she's beautiful and fast. For me, it's very interesting because my name is Sapozhnikova. It's the one who making shoes. And I think the one who is making shoes, normally he's doing it very long, not being fast. And I'm very happy to welcome Jackie Fast, who has a very interesting biography, starting with a small sum, $2,000 or pounds in the bed. From her sofa, she made a million turnover business in sponsorships, and that is sponsorship sales agency. And her clients, believe me or not, were Richard Branson, Rolling Stones, Mayor of London. I cannot believe it, IBM, but it's the truth. Hello, dear Jackie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
That is the biggest pleasure. Tell me, please, you started your business with a very small amount of money. Is your father a millionaire, or maybe your husband, or who gave you the rest of the money from this 2,000?
No. Firstly, no man gave me the rest of the money. I worked for that money very, very hard. No, I come from a relatively middle-class background. My brother is a garbage truck picker. My other brother is a electrician. My parents, my mom is an accountant. We grew up very middle class in Canada, and I traveled to London to backpack Europe just over after university and only planned to stay there for 2 months. Found out I loved it. Coming from a small town, it just really opened my eyes to what the world could be, and I didn't know that. And so I really only had a little bit of money and got a job and ended up kind of leaving that job because I had a conflict with my boss at the time and didn't know what to do, couldn't get another job. And I really started Slingshot, which is my first business, out of a necessity. I didn't have any other options. It was that or go back to Canada, which I really didn't want to do. And so I took all the money that I had, which was only 2,000 pounds and my laptop. And I decided to start what I thought would be a consultancy business. And in the first year I did a business plan. I was very young. I was 25. I had no idea what I was doing, which I actually think in hindsight was the better was kind of the reason why it was so successful. But in my business plan, all I wanted to make was $80,000 because then I could pay the rent and I could have a decent life, and $80,000 would be enough for me to do that. Within 3 years, we were turning over an 8-figure sum. By year 6, I sold it. And I really, and also to your question, the money came from me. I've never gotten money from my husband or my parents or any boyfriend or anything. I've worked very, very hard for that money. But it makes it all the more, better to spend it, really.
What is the source, Jackie, what is the source of your business? How is your business model, that business model worked? You were doing sponsorship for Richard Branson, for Rolling Stones, or how you made money on this? What is the concept of the business?
So sponsorship in its very base form, if you watch a sports game and you see like an IBM logo on a car or a football jersey, I was the girl that negotiated the deal to get that brand logo in that place. And when I first started, nobody would hire me. And so I was free. My first, the way that I worked with clients is that I would just get a commission if I could sell the shirt sponsorship or the car sponsorship. And that really worked for clients because they didn't have to pay me. So it's very easy to get a client when they're not paying you any money. But I was so good that, I really was happy to work on performance, and my performance really paid off. And over time, and it took time, my fees, I just started increasing kind of my retainer rate. I think our first retainer was $1,000, £1,000 a month. When I sold the business, our retainers were at least £5,000 to £6,000 a month, and you had to put down about £300,000 up front to do the strategy. But it took me 6 years to get there. When I started, there's no way I would be laughed. I wouldn't even be able to get a meeting if I said that those were my rates. But I proved myself. I worked really hard to prove that I could do what I could do. And I was very good at my job. I worked harder than everybody else, which is why it got so successful.
Jackie, tell me, please, there are a lot of people who are mentors, authors, who are writing a book, who are having a TV program, a YouTube channel, and all of them are looking for sponsorship. They think, oh, my idea is that great. I want somebody watch my YouTube channel, somebody read my book, and they will say, I'm a genius, I'm a great person, I want to sponsor you. I'm like a startup. And now you said that you have a business where you are sponsoring the startups and you invest money in the startups. You made the capital fund. What is important if you want to be sponsored? How to be sponsored?
So there's two different things there. There's sponsorship and investment. They're not the same. So my company now is called Sandbox Studios. We're a venture fund. We invest in startups. When you invest, you hope for a return, but it's not baked into the investment that you make. When you sponsor, there needs to be a return. So if somebody is going to sponsor a YouTube channel, for instance, they're not sponsoring you, the person. It's not about you being amazing. It's about the audience that you have collectively gathered. And the brand wants to get in front of the audience. So if you have a wide audience, a diverse audience, that's valuable to people because it's harder to reach new customers. So sponsorship in that sense is a very different ask than asking somebody to give you money because you're great, or you think you're going to be great. And so in a way, sponsorship they're both difficult to get, but investment is about the potential of your business to be sold or acquired. Sponsorship is the ability to deliver an audience immediately. So it's different.
Absolutely. But nowadays, there are so many girls on the TikTok who are 7 years old or 8 years old, and their audience, believe it or not, 7 million people or 10 million people or 50 million people. And the sponsors saying, okay, great. I want to take this girl. She's doing this unpacking. She's opening Barbie. She's opening Lego, and they're giving big money to people who are in the other field, who are a little bit older. How to catch up with that, and how do you think they can be valuable? Because not everybody can be 7 years old and to unpack Barbie, I don't know. In Russia, it's very popular, unpacking. I think
unboxing. Yeah, unboxing.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, I'm not running around trying to be an unboxer. I think I wrote a book called Rule Breaker. And one of the fundamental things that I talk about is it's very important to be yourself. So the more you are true to your values and your way of doing things, the more likely you're going to be successful because you're not butting up against your own self or your own ideas. So I would never recommend anybody who's like 40 to start an unboxing channel because it's popular with kids. The other thing is it's about audience, right? So you have to kind of go where your audience is and the value you add. So everybody is unique. Everybody has a different viewpoint. And it's really about communicating that viewpoint to build an audience. You can build an audience at any age. You don't have to be 7 and unboxing Barbies. Building an audience online is possible in any sense. In terms of My Hidden Hero, what you're doing now is you're helping a specific group of people that are going through a pandemic or going through difficult times and bringing on insight and content to help them grow. That is an audience and that is a builder, and that probably rings true to yourself and your beliefs. If you, for instance, had the same platform, but you decided to bring on a 7-year-old TikToker who unboxes Barbies, you probably wouldn't have the same conversation. And you probably wouldn't be super interested. And so a lot of it stems from you. Like, what do you care about? Personally, what do you care about? And then you build an audience from that.
But, we have a lot of discussions on this topic because, okay, you care about something, but it's not in the trend. It's not popular. Let's say, for me, I love a little bit deep topic. The audience may be now interested in simple things. Jackie, now a lot of people cannot read long because we get used to the gadget, we get used to very quick information. And for me, for example, when I make a movie, I cannot do it a clip. I want to do a movie But the audience now, they want a clip. Everything should be very quick, fast. TikTok, move, change the pictures. Somebody naked, somebody not naked. But I think it's not my values. How to adjust? And I know this is the question from me, but this is the question from the audience, because a lot of people ask me this: how to adjust to this thing? Let's say for me, I'm a documentary maker, but documentaries now, they are not in the trend. But TikTok is in the trend. How to find that audience for whom you're working and make and monetize it?
So I slightly disagree with that. And you're saying about trends, but you're also talking about a medium and platform that younger millennials use. Documentaries were never trendy. When were documentaries ever trendy? They've never been trendy. So just because other people are watching a lot of TikTok doesn't mean that the people that used to watch documentaries still don't watch documentaries. They're just not on TikTok. Or there might be both. So I think there's two things there. One, I definitely wouldn't disagree with looking at the way that you create content. Let's take you, for example. You create beautiful long documentaries. I don't think that there's anything wrong with doing that and looking at how to disseminate information in bite-sized clips to make it more accessible to different audiences. But your main audience will still want to indulge in that documentary that's 2 to 3 hours long, that want to go deep on a subject, that maybe take more research, and you can kind of still support that while also doing some other tips. One thing that I think is actually really interesting, I don't know if you guys have seen Fantastic Fungi, but it was a documentary about mushrooms that came out recently last year.
Yes. That is on the Netflix, yeah?
Yes, it's a documentary. The guy who is the filmmaker is called Louis Armstrong. What he has done to make it really accessible, it's a 3-hour documentary about how mushrooms grow. I didn't think it was very interesting. But what he does is he's used it in ways that are more tactile. So he's created live events, panel discussions. He's taken the visual images of the mushrooms and projected them on buildings. He's gotten interesting people and famous people to talk about the interest of it. So there's different ways that you can engage with a new audience that is interested in TikTok, but still get them to watch your documentary. And that would be my recommendation.
So it's a kind of being very creative, not to stick to old dogma that we did many years like this. It should
Correct.
be now. I think everything is changing. Nothing is stable at the thing. Jackie, the question to you: how you reach these big guys, Richard Branson, Rolling Stone, and so on and so forth? The list of 15 people, 15 companies, huge companies. Why they decided to work with you?
Honestly, and this is without saying it in any other way, I am the best at what I do. I'm very, very good. So Richard Branson came from an introduction. Rolling Stones came from an introduction. Prince the musician came from an introduction. When you start doing a really good job, people will hear about it. And the one thing that I've learned is, actually, there's two things that I've learned. One thing is, I very, very, very strongly believe in doing the work and putting in the hours. And one of the things that I always like to talk about is it's like a pop band or a heavy metal band. They play in their parents' garage and they play and they play and they play every night and they play every night. And maybe somebody will let them open up at a pub. Maybe somebody will let them open up at a small comedy show. And then all of a sudden they're everywhere. The hours that they put in, the learning how to be better as a group, as a person, all of that stuff goes somewhere. And so, people all know me now, but when I was working in my bedroom for no money, hoping to make $80,000, nobody knew me. I put in the hours, I put in the time, I did the work, I did the research, and I cold called a lot of people. What happened is I got my first client. I did a good job with them. They then told somebody else. I got my second client. And that's how the real world works. Going back to your thing about Insta famous and Instagrams and TikTok, and everybody wants positive reinforcement so quickly. That's not reality. I'm now, God, I can't even believe it, 38 years old. When I started Slingshot, I was 25. I didn't get invited to speak about my experience until I was 30, until after I'd sold the business. Nobody cared. And so, a lot of people just don't see all of the hard work that goes into getting to that stage. And I worked harder than everybody else, and I was better than everybody else because I worked so hard. That's one thing. Second point on that. There is something about, I don't want to say confidence, but being able to talk about your success is important. So, when I did do a good job, I told everybody. When I had my first client and I did a great job, I posted it on the blog that I had on my website. I put it on a newsletter. I told every meeting that I ever went into, like all the stats. I got my first client to like write a reference with like why I did such a good job, why they should hire me. And I used that to get my, I didn't just like hope and pray that somebody come along. I worked really hard to create a really compelling story to why clients should hire me. And then just what happened is I just kept doing it over and over and over. So yeah, I work with Richard Branson, IBM, Rolling Stones, etc. I didn't start there. I had really small clients, conference clients, and I built it and built it and built it and built
Jackie,
it.
I'm very sorry to interrupt you. What you did exactly for them? Like they were sponsoring somebody, so you were putting their logo on some events?
So typically I would sell their properties to brands. So with the Rolling Stones, they do a concert. They were looking for money. So I'd sell the opportunity to sponsor the Rolling Stones concert to brands. That's what I do.
That is the thing that you were doing. You invented it yourself. So how you were working for somebody.
But I didn't invent it.
You said, I will not work anymore. And you start doing it yourself. Why you decided doing it?
Because I got in a fight with my boss and quit my job. That's the truth. I got in a fight with my boss and quit my job and couldn't get another job. That's what happened.
So you were thinking, Jackie Fast, okay, I will do that because I can do it very well. Yes, because that's what you were doing at your work before.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. And my final question to you, it's about, are you satisfied with the money that you're earning now?
No, it's never enough.
It's never enough, but it's much better than when you were working for somebody else. It goes without saying.
Oh yeah, no, like when I sold the business, I made a ton of money and it was amazing. And it took all the hard work and the concern and all of that stuff out the window. It's like life is always better with money. I have options now, I didn't have options before.
What about the concept that women cannot get money as men? That because it's by the statistics, it's not that I'm inventing it, but by statistic, 80% of the money of the world are with men. They're not with women. And even if you look at the Forbes list in different countries, 90%, sometimes even in some countries, 99% are men. What do you think? What is that, women and money? What is the relationship with women and money, and why this relationship is like that? Because I see in your case, with money is good.
Yes, but that's not your fault. That's men's fault. So, you have to look at the constraints that started. And in the 50s, women stayed home and took care of babies and men went out to work. So you have a whole, and it's a whole cohort of people in a generation that are not educated, that don't have any experience, and that's why they don't make any money. That's then. Now is very different. If you look at universities right now, more women are attending universities. More men are deciding not to go to universities, living off their parents and playing video games. I guarantee you in 50 years from now, women will be the people making all the money and the men will be like, why don't we have any money? So I think the point is that you have to find a balance with what works for yourself. I personally like to work. It's always been the thing. I worked very hard in a male-dominated world to be treated equally. I probably had to work twice as hard to make the same amount of money a man would. That's the truth. But I think things are changing now. And so I think rather than look at the stats of things that you have no control over, because you can't take back what has happened before. You can only do what you can do moving forward. And I think there are more opportunities for women. And And I also do feel that women need to be more aggressive for what their value is.
More aggressive?
With their own value. So I think a lot of women don't ask for a raise. They just take the job that they're given. They don't push back on why they should get more money or anything. You know, I think historically women are just too scared to ask.
Is the family values important to you, or your career and your independence and money are more important at the moment?
So I've just had a kid. I have a 1.5-year-old baby, and that has really changed a lot of things for me, just because of time. So what I have found, I've given up other things. So I don't get to see friends. I don't have a social life. Work is very important to me, but now so is my baby. So I don't have anything else. I only have, because I do everything with so much effort and energy. I don't have personal time. I don't get my hair cut. You know, I don't go to the dentist. I don't see friends. I don't, I have work and I have the baby. That's it. That's my life. But that's my choice,
Jackie, you as a person who is doing that much and who has such successful business, and I'm so happy that you have a baby, and it's incredible to imagine how this young lady can accommodate all this. Why you also decided to be a speaker and to share your knowledge when you almost don't have time at the moment? Why you are doing that?
Because I wish somebody would have told me this. So when I first started Slingshot, I was so scared, and I really didn't feel like I had enough experience or confidence to make money. And I started Slingshot out of necessity. As mentioned, I got in a fight with my boss. I couldn't get another job. I didn't have a choice. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish I had seen somebody tell people the truth. Like, it's not that hard. And I think
but how not that hard? You told me you worked for this 6 years. You told me that the first client, you have to look for that. You have to post everywhere about your success. You did so much. It's like it's so hard, really. It doesn't sound like it's so easy.
It's not that hard, right? If you expect to sit around watching TV or sit on a beach and have like loads of money coming your way, it's just not realistic. In terms of what I mean by hard, I put in a lot of effort, but it wasn't beyond capabilities, because I think anybody, if they put in the effort, can be very successful. And that was the difference. So I was always under the understanding that you had to be well connected. I was not. I was from Canada living in London. You had to have lots of money backing you. I had 2,000 pounds. You had to have people who were willing to invest in you. I did not. I did not have all the things that people told me that I needed to start a business, but I had to start a business or else I had to go back to Canada. And I started a business, which became the most successful business ever. And now I'm just like, it's the conversations are not the right conversations for people who are looking to start a new business, I think. And so that's why I do it. So I don't have a lot of time, but I do feel like saying that and trying to change the narrative around how to be successful is important.
This is really the final question, Jackie. This big confidence that you have in you, as I can see, as a beautiful lady, as a mother, as a very successful business owner who created the business, which is quite unique. I will say not everybody doing that business. It has a niche. From where you take this level of confidence in yourself? Especially you said that your brother is working on the garbage truck work. The other one is electrician. So it's not that you were from the President Biden family or something. The confidence, or you're just confident in everything from the very beginning since you're born?
I'm not that confident. I think people misunderstand or misjudge I am good at my job. Like that, it's a fact. I am good at my job. It doesn't make me like boastful or confident. It's a fact of the thing. I am very good at what I do. And I'm confident in my ability to deliver because I'm very good at what I do. If you were to ask me if I'm a good mother, I would probably feel less confident about that. If you would ask me if I'm like do you know what I mean? And I don't, the other thing actually that's true, I don't let negative thoughts kind of take over my head about like, what if this happens? What if that happens? You know, at the moment I'm raising a fund and there's a target. What if we don't hit it? I just don't entertain those thoughts. I focus on the task at hand. And I've always been very good at that. And just, I kind of really am good at focusing on what needs to be done.
That is amazing. That is really very inspiring. I think that Jackie Fast is sent to us to give us that positive energy and to give us this thing about that we can do everything if we are focused on one thing and if we can deliver a job that where we are good at. Because where if there is, let it be a small space. Like let's say if you do documentaries, do it very good. If you raising funds for a startup, do it very good. If you're doing sponsorship programs, do it very good. And when you are the best at what you are doing, then there are no hesitations. The only thing is the time that you invest, being focused, not being on the beach. And of course, since I'm from Dubai, what I can say, I like to go to the beach, and very often as a very creative person, I'm, you know, flying in the sky, you know. I'm flying in the sky, and that is so difficult for me, Jackie, to be concentrated. As you know, I did some events in Dubai. I was the producer of a Women SME conference in Dubai. There were great women entrepreneurs who had companies and who were digital companies, and there were a lot of funds around them who were sponsoring them. And there was one owner of the company. She got the biggest amount of money, and everybody asked her how you did it, and she said, "I'm not focused. I'm laser focused."
There you go.
So, you know, till now I remember that she was not focused. She was laser focused. She was the best in a way, like you know, in a way like what you said today. In a way like Jackie Fast. Thank you so much, Jackie, for your great speech. It was a big pleasure to know you. Good luck to your baby and good luck to your business. With that business owner, any business will fly. Thank you so much. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I'll just say though, if anybody's interested in sponsorship, I have a book on Amazon called Pinpoint. And if anybody's interested in leadership, I have another book called Rule Breaker, and they're all on Amazon in every country. So
can you tell me please the last book's name?
Yeah, Rule Breaker.
A Rule Breaker.
Rule Breaker. Rebellious Leadership for the Future of Work is what it's called.
Wow, that's about Jackie Fast. Thank you so much.